So love spending this time with all of you. Thanks for joining me. This is recorded too. So of course, if you want to share it with others to watch or you're watching this at a later date, welcome. This has been the Wisdom Wednesday series. People have been asking me, when you're done with the chakras, are you going to keep going? And I most likely will. Probably not every week, but I will keep offering Wisdom Wednesdays, just a 30-minute brief talk about various topics. We are still working with the chakra system. And if you go back to if you watched the very first lecture, why am I doing this? I really feel that we are at this massive shift in our culture, in our world, and it requires all of us to be more conscious. And it requires us to grow up and to really understand and know ourselves, know what energy we're bringing to the room. And so the chakra system for me has been such a beautiful teacher and guide about understanding my own personal energy. And so I guess the questions I want to raise in the beginning here are we going to stay in the same patterning that we've always stayed in our whole life? Or are we going to work to advance? Are we going to just keep recycling the old energy that has become perhaps comfortable but dysfunctional? Or are we going to transcend into something bigger? And I think that's what the chakra system can give us, a lot of guidance on where we're stuck, and where we could use some extra work to move towards transcendence, if in fact this is what we desire. So, little review: root, safety, security; second chakra, pleasure, right? Creativity, flow; third chakra, self empowerment. This is where we start to put who we are out into the world. Fourth chakra, connection, love, healing, both giving and receiving. We worked last week with the fifth chakra, and I heard from so many people last week about the fifth chakra and how what was discussed was really relevant to them. So, fifth chakra is about truth, it's about expression, it's about authenticity and putting, again, your creative ideas out into the world. So, today, now we get up here to this third eye, the area of wisdom, inner guidance, and big picture. So, this is the true purpose of our sixth chakra. It is big picture, it is the bird's eye view. It's looking for the inherent meaning and connection and symbolism in life. And developmentally, I've talked a little bit, not everyone, but I've tried to remember to share developmentally when this starts to come online. Interestingly enough, our sixth chakra, some sources say, it starts to come online between the ages of 35 and 45. So it's midlife, right? Doesn't mean that prior to this, if you're watching this and you're younger, that it means you don't have any intuitive capacity. That's not at all what I'm saying. It just means that once we reach that midlife juncture point, we pretty much are, whether we like it or not, we are faced more with big picture things. We're faced more with our intuition nudging us even harder. We can't hide in many ways from our intuition once we reach that midpoint of our life. So it really starts to open up this sixth chakra somewhere around midlife. So the deal with it being a big picture energy or chakra is that it means we can't get too caught up in the details. So it is the bird's eye view. The eagle that's flying high in the sky isn't able to pick up the details of the grass as you could if you were right over the grass, right? So we have to begin to see the bigger interconnections versus get caught up in analysis paralysis, the details. And there's a really well-known book that speaks to this. It's Malcolm Gladwell's book, Blink. I read it a long time ago, but I pulled out my copy and was sort of looking through it again. Malcolm Gladwell, he has a great podcast out now, but he's written many books sort of seeped in science. He usually comes up with some kind of a thesis that he's arguing. And in this one, he's really looking at the power of thinking without thinking, which essentially is intuition. And he found and talks about how many of our judgments, our best judgments, are made when we're not too caught up in all the details, right? When we have less information to work with, but we're going more with the gut instinct. So this finding is somewhat problematic in our information age when there is so much data and information at our fingertips. We talked a little bit about this last time with our fifth chakra. There's so many ideas and information out there in the ethers right now, that when it comes to making decisions, sometimes it's best if we're not caught up in all the details, we're going more with a gut instinct. Fascinating, I think, because I do get caught up in analysis paralysis. So I've been pointing up here a lot. This is the center or the location of our sixth chakra. Centered, we often call it the third eye point. And images of a third eye go way, way back, all the way back even to Egyptian times. There are hieroglyphs where the goddess has a left eye, a right eye, and then an eye right in the center. And the left eye is considered the masculine. So the left side of our body's considered masculine energy. And I'm not talking about gender here. I'm talking about energetics. The right eye represents, so the left side of the body is often considered the feminine, but when we get up into the eyes, it's different. So left eye is masculine, right eye is feminine. And the third eye in the center symbolizes the union. So essentially, when we're getting the big picture, we need to integrate our logical left brain with our intuitive, emotional right brain. So it's the integration of the two. Interesting right now because we're entering astrologically something called the age of Aquarius, which is also the integration of the masculine and the feminine. So it's not the masculine taking over, it's not the feminine taking over, it's the integration of these two energies. And that's really what our sixth chakra or our third eye is all about. It's all about integration, trying to see things in a more balanced and heightened way. So, this means if you are one of those people that tends to intellectualize, tends to um, overthink, tends to rely mostly on data and logic, it means you're out of balance. Because this third eye says, logic, we don't, yeah, it's important, of course. But we also need the right brain, which is the intuition. It is the higher mind, it is the guidance. And so often, if you have trouble accessing intuition or this right side of the brain, there may have been instances as a child where you were taught not to trust your emotion or not to be so sensitive or not to feel so much. So you got very reliant on the logical left side, which our culture very much supports. So, for all of us to move and evolve, we need to find that middle ground where we combine logic with our intuition. So, in addition to the third eye being centered here, it's associated, and by the way, each of these chakras is associated with a part of our glandular system. The third eye is associated with the pineal gland. And I just learned this, which sometimes when I'm doing this research, my mind gets a little blown. So, this pea sized gland, actually, embryologically, the pineal gland starts as a third eye for all of us, literally an eye, and it develops early in the embryo and then it later degenerates, right? So this this idea of a third eye, we literally start out embryologically with a third eye and then it degenerates. But this pineal gland is the part of the body that helps us self regulate and downshift when we're overwhelmed or stressed out. And then this next part that I'm going to say again, a little mind blow from me. Some scientists believe that the pineal gland secretes a psychoactive chemical similar to DMT, known also as ecstasy, the ecstasy drug, that it's part that this DMT was often part of shamans, ancient sort of what would we call it, brews that they would give people to get into these higher states of consciousness. That the pineal gland might actually create a chemical similar to that. I mean, interesting, right? Because the sixth chakra is all about us getting a big picture and tuning into this higher mind, this mind that goes beyond our five senses. So, if the purpose of the sixth chakra is to see the big picture, how do we do that? And I want to talk about three things today. We do it through intuition, we do it through symbolism, and we can do it through dream work. So, let's start with intuition. Intuition is present for all of us. We are all intuitive beings. Now, just because we have the capacity to be intuitive doesn't mean we've always practiced it. And there are certainly different levels of intuition amongst all of us. So one of my teachers explained it to me this way. Betsy, everyone can sing. Everyone can sing, row, row, row your boat. But some people have a really gorgeous singing voice. And some people, you don't want to actually hear their singing voice. They can sing, but it's not like they're going to appear on Broadway per se. So all of us have intuitive capacities. Some people have highly developed intuitive capacities, but we can all get better. We can all take singing lessons. We can all learn how to really tap into this gift, because intuition is a gift. So intuition, let's just define it. It's recognizing patterns. It's sort of unconscious pattern recognition that goes beyond our five senses. So typically we're taking in our world through our five senses. Intuition is sort of like going beyond those five senses and just knowing. We call it gut instinct, or I just have a sense about this, or my heart says I need to do this. And the yoga tradition says intuition lives in three areas of the body: the gut, which is that gut instinct; the heart, my heart tells me I need to do this; and then this third eye point. So we have all these areas, these three areas that really help us hone our intuition. Now, the thing about intuition is we can't force it. We can't um, control it. And it's sort of dependent on grace. Like, we don't know when the intuition is going to hit us. We don't know when we're going to have that extra sensorial knowing. Now, there's things we can do to set ourselves up really well so we connect to intuition more, but it can't be forced. It needs a lot of openness, a lot of space, and a lot of relaxation. And intuition, scientists are studying it. This is, this is my jam. I love knowing what science is saying about it. So science is saying that intuitive knowing shows up in the right side of the brain. And so this is the feminine side of the brain, right? The left, right? Left brain is logical, analytical. Right brain is intuitive. So intuition it is showing up on brain scans, mostly in the right side of the brain. It's also interestingly showing up in the hippocampus, which is the part of the brain that processes emotions. And it's also showing up in our gut, right? So that digestion, that gut reaction. And women's corpus callosum. So the corpus callosum is the sort of thick part of the brain that connects the left hemisphere, that logical analytical side, with the right hemisphere, the intuitive side. And women's corpus callosum is significantly thicker than men's. So there is some suggestion that women may be able to navigate a little easier information from our left hemisphere and our right hemisphere. So both logical and intuitive information. But there's really good news for those of you who are out there that are men that are like, women have this stronger corpus callosum. There is research out now saying that what strengthens the corpus callosum, the intuitive and the rational sides of the brain: meditation and yoga. So Sarah Lazar is a well-known researcher. I think she's at UMass, and she's been doing brain scan studies looking at the power of yoga and meditation. And she definitely has found that there's cortical thickening that happens in people who are practicing yoga and meditation, which means we're having better communication between the logical part of our brain and the intuitive part of our brain. It's this third eye point, right? We need them both. So I'm going to get to that later, but there's a little precursor about the importance of meditation. So I also want to explain when we think about intuition that intuition is for our well being and our good. So, intuition is in service to us, right? We get intuitive hits or intuitive nudges or gut instincts because we could say our higher self is nudging us towards something that we know will help us. But the deal is how do we trust it? How do we know it's intuition versus anxiety voice? How do we play this all out? So the first piece with intuition, we have to be quiet. We have to be still. We have to be somewhat detached for our intuition to really speak up to us. And then when the voice of intuition comes through, it's always comes through um, steady, calm, non judgmental. It's very even toned. It's not screaming at us, it never screams at us. There's really no emotional charge with intuitive data. That's so important. There's really no or emotional charge with intuitive data. It's just fact. So, this discussion actually came up, of course, this week with me and a client who was talking about how do I know what is my intuitive voice and how do I know what is my anxiety voice? Because the anxiety voice is worried about everyone's well-being and is everyone okay and am I okay and is something bad going to happen in the world? And how do you deduce, is that my intuition telling me to stay safe and protect myself, or is that my anxiety? So the way we can delineate this is we have to, if there's any charge, emotional charge in the voice that you're receiving, and if there's a lot of shoulds and must and ought tos, and that's usually the voice of our ego or anxiety or not our higher self, not our intuition. So, really key for you to remember that intuition comes to us very non judgmental, non emotional, a little detached. It can be steady and it can be insistent. Doesn't mean it doesn't leave you alone, but it's pretty even. It's pretty even. And finally, intuition should make us feel lighter and fluid rather than fearful and overwhelmed. So if the voice you're hearing is making you feel scared and overwhelmed, it's definitely not the voice of intuition. But this takes some practice being able to know, is the inner voice I'm hearing right now, is it my ego or is it my intuition? Silent stillness is key. So, intuition is the balance, gives us the big picture, right? Balances our logic with our intuition. Intuition often comes to us, well, it can come in such a myriad of ways. But I want to talk about symbols because I feel like symbols are one of the main ways our intuition communicates with us. And just watching the inauguration this morning, what was out on that lawn everywhere? Instead of people, because they weren't allowing people there, did you see what was there? It was flags, 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 flags everywhere. And what a symbol of our country, of democracy, of unity is that American flag everywhere, right? So symbols are everywhere. And in fact, today I specifically wore a couple symbols. So I wore Fatma's hand, which has the symbol of the third eye right in the middle of it, that I got in Turkey on a trip. So this symbolizes protection, right? I also wore my earrings that are the peacock because the peacock, the animal, the peacock has a lot of symbolic meaning to me. It might not mean anything to anyone else, but it has meaning to me. So for all of us, there are certain symbols, the energy of symbols that really we resonate with. And symbols can start to emerge for us, right? So we're driving and we see something on a car, a symbol on a car that whoa, that says something. That's speaking to me in the moment. So when symbols show up for you, especially symbols that you resonate with, it's really important for you to A, notice what am I thinking about? B, what's going on right now? What is this symbol trying to how's it trying to speak to me? I have a teacher who is highly intuitive, Aviana, some of you might know her. And she says we get 1,000 symbols a day. We get 1,000 signs a day. But how many do we actually pay attention to? How many do we actually decode and use for guidance in our life? But symbols are everywhere. And there's a really great book. I actually put it in the chat box for those of you who might like to look it up. I actually put the other book, To Blink, in that chat box, just the link to Amazon to the book. But this book is called Signs. It's by Laura Lynn Jackson, who's an intuitive. Such a good book. I really recommend it. But she says this is a woman who is one of those Grammy nominated singers. If we think about singing is similar to intuition, we can all do it, but some people are really gifted at it. Laura Lynn Jackson would be like the Grammy winning singer of intuition. But she writes that in her work, doing a lot of readings with people, that intuition or signs, signals show up often as birds, butterflies, deer, electrical events, coins, rainbows, license plates, street signs, song lyrics, feathers, ladybugs, number sequence. Those are often symbols that speak to us. Right? So you see a rainbow, what's going on? What does it symbolize to you? For me, the number 33 has had a lot of meaning for me, shows up all the time. And when I see the number 33, whether it's 11:33 on my watch, actually, when I just started this lecture today on my little participant box, right when we started, there were 33 people. And I'm like, of course, there's my number, 33. And for me, when I see that number, simply what it's telling me is, oh, Betsy, you're in alignment, right? That is a signal to you that you are on the right track. You're in alignment. Stay with it. So it's a good feeling when I see the number. So all of us have symbols and signals. So our job, if we so choose to take it, is to begin to try to make sense of the symbols. What does it mean? Why now? What else is going on around me at the moment that I see that symbol? So, but this is our intuition, our higher mind, I think, trying to communicate. When we were in our fifth chakra, words are the way we communicate. Sixth chakra, communication now comes in the form of symbols. We're working more in this symbolic realm. So, in addition to symbols, my understanding of symbolism, I've always been interested in it, but it really has blown open in the last 5 or 6 years since I started to do some very intense dream work. So, again, intuition gives us the big picture. Intuition often speaks to us through symbols, and it can definitely speak to us through dreams. So I know that every single one of you on this call or watching this video have had dreams that you remember. And you've had dreams that have woken you up and stay in your conscious mind all day or for weeks or maybe for years. Many of us have recurring dreams that keep showing up over and over. This is your higher mind trying to get your attention. It wants you to know something. And once we can learn to really follow our dreams, trust our dreams, work with the symbols and the images in our dreams, such transformation can happen. So, my story is 6, 7 years ago. I'm sure I've talked about this in various ways. I had a really low point, a dark night of the soul, physical, emotional, all kinds of stuff coming online, my midlife sort of breakdown, smackdown. And there was a blog that I was following, and this blog was called Mystic Mama. It quoted and put forth a lot of the work of a woman named Kathy Pagano, and she was doing dream work with people. And I checked out her website, and I really resonated with that energy. and I scheduled an online appointment. She lives on the East Coast, and this is a practitioner who's studied at the Jung Institute in Switzerland and has this like sort of deep, deep understanding of dream life and dream symbols. So I started to work with her, and I'm so grateful because what I've learned about dreams is that dreams, as Kathy would say, they don't necessarily tell you what you should do, but they tell you what's actually going on in your life, right? So sometimes we think, well, I know what's going on in my life, but do we really, right? Usually our ego has told us a story about what's going on, whereas your dream life actually really says, no, this is what's going on in your life. And so dreams, Kathy has also said, are direct messages from God. So pay attention, right? There's guidance coming to you from beyond. Pay attention. So the thing with dreams, I've been very grateful that I've had a guide. So even though, I'm somewhat seeped in this and I'm always been interested in symbols and intuition, having this person who really knows dreams help me decode what the dreams mean has been absolutely, again, life changing for me. So, just to give you an example of some of my early dreams, these were from several years ago. I kept having dreams about murderers, right? And this murderer would keep showing up in my dream, and he kept killing off women. Um, he wasn't killing off me, but he was killing off other people around me. And interestingly enough, he was killing women who were very much looked like Barbie dolls. And so, where I got with this, I'm like, what is this? What is this? As my psyche was telling me that there was this part of me that needed to die off, that needed to be killed off, which was the plastic, um, perfection, look a certain way, fit into a certain box, that needed to die off. So it was a really good sign that this killer was showing up to kill off the plastic version of me so that I could turn into the more wild, messy, free, authentic, real self that wanted to merge. So what it looked like on the surface was fear, killing, and it was just a beautiful symbol that my psyche was doing the good and hard work of killing off parts of me that weren't really me. So dream work, powerful. And I do want to say historically, so many scientific and technological things have come through dreams. So the periodic table of elements, Mendeleev, I think that's how you say his name, came through a dream. Paul McCartney, his song Yesterday came from a dream. Mary Shelley, Frankenstein, came from a dream. Stephen King, his book Misery came from a dream. And even the creator of the sewing machine all came from a dream. So really powerful things can come out of that dream zone. So I'm actually going to put in the chat box right now the name of my dream guru. If any of you want to check out her work, it's kathypagano.com. And so check that out. There's also dream books, there's dream dictionaries. You can type what's the symbolism of this into Google, and you'll find a lot of amazing information as well. But follow your dreams. And for those of you out there who are saying, I don't remember my dreams, Betsy, you have to set intention when you go to bed at night. I want to start to remember my dreams. You also need to keep a journal close by. So when you wake up, if you don't go through, right? So when I wake up, I lay there for a while and I try to pull together, I think this was going on. And then the dream sort of starts to come together. So you need to take some conscious time to try to remember the dreams. Now, we will have dreams that we wake up from and we can't not remember them. Those are the big ones to really pay attention to. But if you want to get into some regular dream work, you have to sort of set yourself up to remember them. But they're there. We all dream, every single one of us. So last but not least, if we know that our intuition helps us see the big picture, it comes through our intuition, it comes through symbolism, it comes through dreams. How do we access it more? Right, so there may be those of you out there who are like, I'm in. I want to balance my masculine and feminine. I want to have my logic and my intuition blended together. And I want to be able to see the big picture so I can better discern direction in my life. What do I do? How do I hone this? Because it is a skill. It is something we can practice. So I'm going to give you a couple simple ways, but then I'm going to tell you like the number one way. People often can tune into their intuitive mind a little bit more in showers. So when you're sort of closed off from the world with water running over your body, this is often when people kind of get intuitive hits or guidance. Driving, you sort of go into a trance-like state, especially on long distance driving. And it's often a time when sort of the intuition can be more apparent. You're more in a quiet space, perhaps, unless you have the radio blaring. I've heard from so many students over the years that during Shavasana, in that quiet space at the end of a yoga practice, they will often have insights, images, things rise up from their unconscious mind. But absolutely, if you have a commitment to develop your intuition, the best way you can do it is to meditate. Hands down, the number one tool to increase your intuitive capacity is meditation. So, what are we doing in meditation? We're creating space and we're creating, um, I don't want to say quiet because oftentimes our mind is not quiet. We're having 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, a new thought every zero point 0.4 seconds. So sometimes meditation does not feel quiet, but what you're doing at a deeper level is creating space, creating more space, creating just a little extra space between your thoughts where that intuition, that intuitive mind actually comes forth. So I could tell story after story about myself, friends, students, colleagues who, when they started to meditate, and I don't mean meditating once a week. I mean, like you're meditating every day. And you're doing it, right? You're in 5, 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes a day. That what starts to happen is this intuitive center. And now we know scientifically the link between your left and right hemispheres starts to grow really strong. So you just know things, you intuit things, you sense things, you better discern things, you listen in new ways. So those of you who want to develop this, I'm going to encourage you, you got to meditate, or it's going to take you there quicker, more efficiently. Doesn't mean intuition won't come through in other ways, but if you really want to, if you feel devoted to developing this, and it's in your highest interest, our intuition is there as a guide. It's there as an ally for us. Meditation is the way. All right, friends, I'm looking at my time. So great to be with all of you. I'm going to end with just 2 minutes to tell you how excited I am that my new upcoming program is called Yoga for the Mind. Literally a decade at least in the making, at least thinking about it, but studying probably 2 decades, all the material that's going to go into this course. It's the registration is open. I put a link in that chat box as well. It's integrating my work in both psychology, science, and yoga, meditation. So, really, I'm just thinking about this now, and my mind is blowing a little bit right now. The symbol that I used for it was a bridge because I wanted to talk about this course as a bridge between yoga and psychology. But today we're talking about the corpus callosum. It's like a bridge that connects our left brain and our right brain. And this course is designed to do that too, because I'm bringing in logic, I'm bringing in science, I'm bringing in empirically supported things from the literature, from yoga and meditation that we can use on ourselves and with people we work with. But we're also working with this whole esoteric lineage and this sort of intuitive lineage. And yoga is all about helping us tune into these higher levels of self. So we're bridging those two things together. It's 5 months, it's weekly recording Zoom calls, it's yoga classes, it's one on ones with me. It's small group work. So if you're ready to take a deep dive into linking your left and your right brain, working with logic and working with intuition, and working with deep transformation, this is what this program's all about. I originally conceptualized it as helping mental health professionals and or yoga teachers learn how to integrate these two modalities. But the more I've actually developed the course and talked with people, it's really for anyone. So if you're like, I'm a lay person, but I'm really into this stuff and I want to learn, it's still going to speak to you. And you're not going to feel like it's over your head in any way, because we're all humans on this path of transformation. And hopefully, this course is just going to really give you the support to move forward in this time, right? This new time, this new day, new democracy, new unity, all of that good stuff. All right, friends, I'm going to sign off because I got to get a kid to school. I got to get a kid down to Iowa City, but love to all of you. I hope this is helpful. Thank you so much. It'll be on YouTube here within the next couple hours. So please share this with people who you think will benefit from it. All right. Namaste. Love to all of you.